Hey, Bulls and Bears, we're back with another dose of economic reality, back with another update, back with a financial news report here, documenting the economic collapse of financial crisis 2.0 that we are entering. And we've got a lot of good news, a lot of good information to get into today. First, please make sure that you like this video and subscribe if you like what we talked about. Help keep this channel alive and help us get that algorithm going here to get some views on this, because we do want to get the word out about what's happening, because people are starting to realize what's going on with the banks. More people are researching the fact that the banks create this money, that they loan it out, that they don't have the money in the reserves or in their vaults. People think they go into the bank and there's all this money that everyone deposited, back in the vault somewhere, back in the safe. And it's just not the case. But before, just recently, people would have thought that was insane to even comprehend, that the bank wouldn't have your money. But we've been talking about it for years. People now are realizing bank runs. What are those? What's happening? What do you mean the banks don't have the money? They're going to find out that all the banks are insolvent here pretty soon, and it's going to be it is a crisis. It's a financial crisis. And what do the central planners say? They say don't let a good crisis go to waste. So of course they're using this financial crisis 2.0 to implement a whole new monetary system coming out here right now. Actually, it's rolling out very slowly, but by July, you're probably going to see it advertised and talked about a lot more here. So, of course, this is going to be a whole new ballgame that none of us have ever witnessed or lived through. This is going to be something that we've never experienced, right? So none of us know exactly how this is going to play out. Now, some of you may have noticed I didn't put a video out yesterday. Well, it was Easter, so happy Easter to everybody. But even holidays, sometimes I'll put out videos because if I have time, I'll just put one out. But yesterday, I kind of wanted to take the time to step back and research a little bit and think about, how I want to present information on this channel. And I want it to be more preparation focused, because that's what a lot of you have been asking about. I see your comments. A lot of you say, JJ, we know that things are bad, things are changing. We're going into the unknown, the abyss. But how do we prepare? How do we prepare for this? And that's a tough one to answer. But I think we all need to prepare both financially, monetarily, and just survivalist. And I don't want to be a survival channel, but that's always part of the picture, right? With finance, how much do you want to spend on putting away canned food? How much do you want to spend on having security? Because when the economy gets worse, crime gets worse. Look at all the news stories now about different crime in different cities going up spectacularly. And we've got the financial executive up in San Francisco that went to San Francisco for a business trip. This was the founder, I believe, of Cash App. I don't have the article right in front of me, but I read it a few days ago. Just walking down the street, just didn't make it, was attacked. And, this is opening a lot of eyes there. If someone like that can get attacked, I mean, anyone can get attacked, but, things are getting worse. We see the crime getting worse. And everywhere you look, when poverty goes up, crime goes up, and people somehow think that things aren't changing for the worst. I've often been called the doom and gloomer here, but all you have to do is look at the news. Everywhere you look, things are getting worse. Crime, poverty, the amount of debt that people are in, the late payments. Are late payments decreasing for loans and credit cards, or are they increasing? Well, they're increasing. So if they were decreasing, I would come here and report that they were decreasing, that people were paying off their debt, people were getting out of debt, paying down their loans, paying off their debt. That's not happening, right? So it's not doom and gloom. It's just reality. It's what's happening. And what happens to the economy when people start getting behind on their payments? They have to spend less. And you see layoffs. That's what's happening now because people are spending less. One of the big reasons there. But let's get into some news today. I just wanted to kind of paint the big picture here and talk about the direction we're going to be headed in on this channel. And I always have to focus, because sometimes I try to do that. I try to kind of not change, but try to integrate more preparation type of and real actionable type of talk here on this channel. But then after a few reports, I'll lose focus, right? But I don't want to do that now. Let's get into some news. Then we're going to wrap it up with how to prepare and navigate this going forward. Recent report here, Bloomberg, Apple sees a 40% plunge in PC shipments, and that's the steepest among major computer makers. And this is just yet another sign. Every report we have more signs, more signs, more signs that the economy is crumbling. I'll read it right from this article here. The slowdown in consumer spending over the last year has led to double-digit declines in smartphone shipments and PCs, accumulating and an accumulating glut amongst world's foremost memory chip suppliers. So smartphones, PCs, we're seeing the demand drop off very, very heavily. And you're going to see more layoffs. The unemployment number, it's very manipulated, but ultimately, even the manipulated number is going to show some reality as you're going to start to see that ticking up here. But we know how manipulated the numbers are also. So we know that the labor force participation rate is getting worse. More people not in the labor force, but because they're not drawing unemployment benefits, they're not counted as unemployed. So another thing we have to come back to here, at least every few weeks, to remind people that the numbers you see are not reality. The employment numbers, the jobless filings, the new jobs added, it's all manipulated. And if you stay tuned, you'll find out in each of these categories that are reported and put out there in the media how flawed the numbers really are. So it is fooling a lot of people. And I still get messages and emails and pictures of the lines at the amusement parks and at the restaurants telling me there's no economic decline because look at all these people waiting in line to ride a roller coaster. Look at all these people waiting to get their Grand Slam breakfast at Denny's, right? People send me those pictures, really, and they tell me because all these people are spending money on these things that there's no economic problems. Well, that would be true if debt was decreasing. If debt was decreasing, that would make sense that the economy is doing pretty good. But it actually makes sense that debt is increasing. Therefore, people can go to amusement parks. People can go to the restaurants, and you'll see lines and places that are packed still, even though the economy is deteriorating. But remember, we're just in the early innings of this. Interest rates have only been high for the past year. If people were paying down their debt again, I would say, things are pretty good. People are getting out of debt. But no, there's an end to this road because the debt is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We're already in record levels of debt as people here combined, and about close to 70% living paycheck to paycheck. It's getting worse, and it can't last forever. And the high interest rates are going to make it to where millions of people ultimately are going to be insolvent because inflation's not going away. Look at what's happening with oil. We've got the oil cuts out of OPEC. That's going to bring the price of oil higher. Therefore, you're going to be paying more at the pump. The inflation has not really been solved. I mean, inflation is going up a little more slowly. As far as getting back to the 2% inflation target, that's not happening, right? So the things that are being implemented to help the cost of living and reduce inflation are failing. The Inflation Reduction Act, how's that working out for you? Even the name in itself is flawed because we don't just need inflation to slow down, which means prices are still going up just more slowly. We need deflation. So a bill that should have been passed is called the Deflation Act, but of course they didn't pass that. They don't want deflation. They're saying that they do, so people would get behind what they're trying to do or what they're saying they're trying to do. But really, there's no attempt here to stop inflation. If they wanted to stop inflation, all they would have to do is hold the banks accountable for the money that they loan out, but they're not doing that, right? All right, let's get into some other news here. Let's talk about this recent survey here. This is a recent Fed survey. It's finding that Americans' inflation expectations for the next few years has increased. So more people are coming to the realization, more and more people are accepting economic reality that inflation is here to stay and that it's likely going to get worse. But another thing to add into the mix is a credit crunch. We've got the regional and the smaller banks, especially those banks, restricting credit, not completely, but definitely tightening their lending standards because there's a lot of uncertainty out there right now on which banks are going to be rescued, which depositors are going to be rescued. These banks see the outflows and people pulling their money out of the banks, putting them at the big mega banks for perceived safety because of the actions and the words coming out of the FDIC and other entities, causing a lot of uncertainty out there and people just not knowing if they're going to be covered because FDIC we know is also insolvent. They don't have enough to keep up with all the deposits. Now, speaking of deposits, total deposits in the banking system for consumers was about 19 trillion. Now it's closer to about 17 trillion. So almost a $2 trillion outflow or withdrawal of funds from accounts. Many people keeping it at the bank of the mattress at their house. Many people also switching to alternative investments such as treasuries or money markets. And but a lot of people going to the big mega banks for perceived safety. So we have this credit crunch happening. We have inflationary forces happening at the same time with all the money creation. Um, the Inflation Reduction Act, hasn't really done anything to stop or slow down. Maybe slow down inflation a fraction, but nothing really that noticeable. And now we're going to see these higher oil prices here this summer with the OPEC cuts from the OPEC nations. And we're no longer an energy independent country here. Things can change on a dime, and they've definitely changed. And I'm bracing for more inflation. And what can we do? What can we do to prepare for this? Well, here's what I'm doing, but it doesn't mean that's what you should do. I am looking at a pretty large motorhome for a place to live, right? So I don't think that's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. So if it doesn't happen, we'll have a nice RV to go camping in. But in case I lose my job, in case there's a financial disaster, I'm putting in a plan B or a backup plan to have a place to live. Also, we have relatives that we can move in with, and that might work out too. Or we might live in an RV, or maybe nothing will happen, and I'll still be able to stay here with this current roof over my head. But see, the reason I'm making these plans is because I have a family. If you're a single person, if you have no one else to account for, to look out for, then you may not even need to make those preparations because you'll be just fine. You have enough set aside or put away to keep yourself alive for many years. All right. So what I'm doing may not be what you're going to do, but as always, please let me know what you're doing down in the comments. I'm preparing for the worst. I'm preparing to lose my job. Worst case scenario, I'm preparing for economic collapse, for many banks to go down, for there to be a credit freeze up, and who knows what that's going to bring. But all we can do is try to prepare for it, stack away preparations, food, survival for at least 6 months, have some money out of the system, both cash and hard assets, in my opinion, silver, as far as investing and preparing for the next monetary system. Maybe not the next one, but the ultimate direction that this is headed is back to sound money. So that's another way that I'm preparing, on top of the other things that I mentioned earlier with the alternate places to live, the food, the money out of the system, both physical and hard assets. Also, alternate investments, safer investments. We talked about money markets earlier. Also, you can invest in hard assets now. Even your retirement account, there's hard assets out there, hard asset accounts or gold and silver retirement accounts that you can look into, right? We talked about those here many times. So hopefully everybody's good. Keep stacking. We're going to wrap this up for now. Everybody, keep stacking. Big love. Peace.